What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So here is the scenario. You have to build a website and you have been handed a custom icon set, either by the brand you're working for or from the designer. And I'm not talking about font awesome icons or IcoMoon icons, none of that easy stuff. Like you were handed maybe an AI file or an EPS file. Best case scenario, you're handed SVGs that are formatted properly, but you could be handed SVGs that are not formatted properly, and you have to use these icons in your build. And here's the other part about this, the caveat. You have to use them properly, which means they're scalable. You can change the size after the fact. Like after you use them, you can go back and change the size. You can change the color after the fact. You can use custom classes to change the color globally across all of the icons that you are doing. There's only one way to do this inside of Oxygen that is truly appropriate. There's multiple different ways that are, I would say, are inappropriate or not the way to go about this. And unfortunately, it's the way that a lot of people are doing it. They're using images, they're using code blocks. We're not going to do any of that stuff. I'm going to show you how to properly use and manage icons inside of Oxygen. So if this has been a struggle for you, that struggle is about to go away. Let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to screen share. Here is a blank slate for us. And what we're going to do first is we're just going to add a section. I'm going to build a little, a little common card base section. Okay. So I'm going to do base ultra light as our background. I'm going to add a div. I'm going to make this a 3-column grid. It's going to be 1 column on medium device sizes. It's going to have a medium gap, and I'm going to add a div. This is going to be my card. Okay. And I'm going to make a custom card because we're talking about best practices. So I'm going to make a card, just give it a card class here. And let's see how we can style this. I'm just going to make the background color white. So we'll do shade white. And I'm going to also give it some padding. So we need, and I'm using Automatic.css for all this stuff, by the way. So you see me typing in variables instead of like ims or rims or anything like that. It's just because I'm using Automatic.css. So all this is going to be automatically responsive. It's all going to be perfectly consistent across my site. So I'm going to do space L for my padding, which is large padding. And then I'm going to apply that to all sides. And then I'm just going to start dropping elements in here. We're going to drop an icon. We're going to drop a heading, and that's going to be an H3 heading. I'm going to drop text. And then I need to give these things custom classes. So it's going to be card icon. It's going to be card heading. It's going to be card text. All right, perfect. And then I'm just going to give these some spacing. So my margin top is going to be var space S, like that. And then margin top on this heading is also going to be var space S. And there we go. So now I'm going to call this business service. And I'm just going to give it a little text. It says, this is the description of one of the business's services. There you go. So it's just a nice little clean card. And then you'll notice when you use the icon module in Oxygen, you have the ability to change properties of the icon. Okay. So if I wanted these to be my brand's primary color, I can easily make these icons my brand's primary color. I can even do that after the fact. So let's take that off and I'll show you by duplicating this card a few times. Now I have 6 cards. Okay, so I should be able, when we talk about scalability, to change the size and color of these icons without editing every single one by one. Because I made a class called card icon, I can now come in and do var primary, and they all will change to primary, and I can change the size to 42, and they will all change. That's what I mean by scalability. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go get a custom icon pack because we're not going to use font awesome or linear icons or anything like that. So I'm going to go to resources, Envato elements. I'm going to open my Envato elements account. If you don't have an Envato elements account, I would highly recommend getting one. It's worth its weight in gold. Like for the price you pay and what you get access to, it's tremendous. So I'm going to search for business icons. And we're just going to choose an icon pack here. And first I need to go into graphics. All right, and I'm going to choose this one right here, and I'm going to hit download without license, hit save file, and we're going to save this in my icons or my downloads folder. So we'll just hit save. Okay, so let's go to my downloads folder, and you're going to see that I have a zip file. All right. And let's just pretend this is what you've been handed by the client or by the designer. All right. And so you're going to open it and you're going to inspect it. Hey, what's inside here? Well, there's a JPEG. That does me absolutely no good. Let's get rid of that. A JPEG will never help you in this situation. But there is an EPS file. And that EPS file is the main vector file, and it's going to have all the icons in it. But again, you can't just use this, right? So what do we do with it as a developer? Well, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to open it in Illustrator. All right. Now, if you don't have Illustrator, if you don't have a Creative Cloud account as an agency, I understand if you're maybe a freelancer, okay, or you're just doing this one-off. I understand you don't have Creative Cloud. But if you're an agency and you don't have a Creative Cloud account, I don't know what to tell you. I can't give you a tutorial in any other app, let's just say, for vector graphics. There are other ones out there. There are free apps, I believe, for editing vector files. I can't do the tutorial for those because I don't know how to use them, but I do know how to use Illustrator. And I want to give a special shout out. Let's just do a pause. Give a special shout out to one of my developers, Andrea, who walked me through all this process. He's the one that taught me this process because I basically tasked him. I'm a busy guy. I was like, Andrea, we got to have a better solution for custom icon management inside of Oxygen. I don't want to use images anymore. I don't want to use code blocks. I want to be able to use the icon module in Oxygen. I want full control over these custom icons. I want the ability to add them easily, swap them out easily, not have to use the media library, not be tied down to a specific color or anything like that. And he basically showed me how to do it. And now I'm teaching it to you. So it's really cool. So here we are with, just a little shout out to him. All right, so here we are with our Illustrator file. Now, I'm going to first just figure out like how this is formatted because they're all formatted differently. If you notice there's a white box around all these icons, I can just delete that. I don't need that. I'm also seeing that if I click an icon, these are all independent, which is good, but the labels are all in a group, which is fantastic. That's actually really good because I can just delete them. I obviously don't need the labels. Now, I'm going to do this two different ways. One way is the not good way, the way most people would do it. And the other way is the way I would recommend doing it. So here's the not good way. You select them all, you right click, you set collect for export as multiple assets. And that's going to put all of these in your export panel as individual icons. That is what you want. And you're going to select SVG and you're going to hit export and you're going to export these. And I'm just going to make a new folder in here called wrong. Okay, here's our wrong folder and I'll just hit choose. And this is what people would do. So they would go in here and they're like, oh, cool, I'm ready to use my icons. And they would first say, well, I can't use the icon element because these aren't going to be icons. They're going to have to be images. They would delete it. And then they would go to image like this, drag it to where it needs to go. And then they would browse. Then they create this icons folder just like this. You've probably seen me do this in tutorials, by the way. It is still the wrong way, even though I did it. All right, so I'm going to drag all these icons in. And you're going to see, bam, 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 it's going to load them. Now, by the way, I'll just stop to say, while this is doing this, WordPress Media Library does not support SVGs by default. So you're going to need the Safe SVG plugin or the happyfiles.io plugin, one of those to give SVG support to your media gallery. But here are all of the icons. They are scalable vector graphics. They're fine. And I hit select image and it pops it in. And then what I have to do is go to that card icon class, put that on there. And then I can't really do like color. This is the problem with this method, right? So I go width rim, maybe we'll do 3, 4, something like that. So I can change its size, but I cannot change its color, okay? So you cannot at anywhere in here change its color. And so if you use, let's say you have 3 brand colors and you use these icons all throughout the website. Number one, you need 3 different sets of all the icons, 1 in each color, because you can't change the color after you use them, right? And then if you needed to swap them out or change the color at any point in time, you have to go to every single icon and swap it and change its color and yada, yada, yada with actual new SVG files. You can't just do it with CSS. You can't just do it with classes. You have no global control whatsoever. So what a lot of people says is, oh, well, yeah, well, definitely don't do it as an image. Just get the SVG code, put it in a code block, and then you have control over it. But in actuality, you now don't have your icons in a gallery of any sort. So they're just it's just code all over your website. If you want to use an icon somewhere else on another page, you got to go find the code, copy the code, go paste the code in a new code block. There's a lot of width and size issues that come along with that. There's still issues with customizing the color. You can't use the oxygen panel to do it really. So there's just a lot of problems. So now what we have to talk about is the way that you should be doing this, okay? So first things first, here's what's going to happen, and I'm going to go back to the wrong files, okay? First, I'm going to go to IcoMoon.io. We are going to use the IcoMoon app to generate the file that we need. So I'm going to go to IcoMoon app, and I'm going to go to my projects, and I'm going to say new project, and I'm going to call this custom business icons. And then I'm going to go to load. All right. And I'm going to show you again, we're still doing this the wrong way. So let's recap. What did I do? I opened the EPS file. I exported those icons as SVGs, and I'm going to show you the next problem that you're going to run into when you do this. So I should be able to import icons, go into there, wrong, SVG, and grab all these and open. And this is what you're going to run into right here. See this message? Strokes get ignored when generating fonts or CSH files. You may convert them to fills and re-import your SVGs. Now, you're going to get a lot of this like just nonsense about converting to fills. Here's what you need to do. So I'm going to hit dismiss. I'm going to select all these icons, and I'm going to remove set. Okay, perfect. So I have to go back into Illustrator. And this is the step that you need to do before exporting. So I'm going to grab all these and delete them from my export panel. I'm going to select all of my icons. And you can do this whenever you open an icon in Illustrator. You can click on it. And if it has a stroke on it, you're going to run into problems. It needs to have a fill instead of a stroke. Now, the good news is in Illustrator, you can convert these easily. So you select all of them, go to Object, Expand, and then make sure that fill is selected right here and hit OK. And it just converted all the strokes to fills. If I click on here, you're going to see that I no longer have a stroke. It is all done with fills. Now I can select them. I can collect for export as single asset. And, oh, I'm sorry, not a single asset. I need to collect for export as multiple assets. And now I can export as an SVG. And we are going to go to backup. And we're going to do right. Here's our right folder. And I'm going to hit choose, and it's going to put my SVGs in there. Now let's see what happens in IcoMoon. So I'm going to go to import icons. I'm going to choose the right folder, SVG, grab all of them and open. And now I did not get a warning. That's fantastic. I'm still not done yet. So what I have to do now, and by the way, once you learn this process, like it's a breeze. So if you feel like, God, there's a lot of steps. Okay, well, number one, it completely makes your entire website build scalable with icons, okay? If you're using Automatic.css, you can actually entirely change color themes this way without any issues whatsoever. So there are massive, massive benefits to doing this. And once you've practiced it 1 or 2 times, you're able to breeze right through it. It takes no time at all. All right, so I'm going to click the little 3 dots here, and I need to select all. That's the easiest way to make sure that every icon you've imported is selected. And then I'm going to go down to Generate SVG and More. I'm going to click on that. And then on this screen, I'm going to choose Preferences. I'm going to change this to Business Icons. And then I'm going to click this box that says Add Title to Definitions. And then I'm going to remove the PNG formats. And then I can just close that box. I'm going to hit download to download my SVG, and I'm going to save. Now, we're still not done. In my right folder, this is where I'm going to save it. All right, so business icons. Let's go inspect what we've done there. So we have right, and we have this zip file called business icons. I'm going to go ahead and unzip that. There's only one file in here that you actually need, and it's the symbol-defs file. Now, you cannot just upload this file into Oxygen and expect things to work. The icons will work, but you will not be able to customize the colors. And that's because of another step that needs to happen. Now, unfortunately, this involves a little bit of code, not actually writing code, just removing some code, but you do need a code editor. Thankfully, there's tons and tons of free ones, okay? I'm going to use VS Code, so I'm going to drag this down to VS Code. and it's going to open this symbol-defs file. And I'm going to show you how easy this is. Don't get scared. Don't start running away. Don't pull the covers over your head right now, okay? Just pay attention. This is very, very simple. VS Code, by the way, is free. So if you want to do this exactly like I'm doing it, you can use VS Code, no problem. So I'm going to select this fill. Basically what's happening here is it's inserting a fill color and a style. And that's basically inline code. And inline code takes precedence over classes. So if you're trying to add a class to your icons to change the color, you're not going to be able to do that because there's an inline color already attached to these icons. So I'm going to grab fill and style and the extra space that's going to be in there. And I'm going to copy this. Then I'm going to click out and I'm going to hit Command A on my keyboard. I want to select all of the code that's in this symbol-defs SVG file. And I'm going to go up to Edit and I'm going to go to Replace. And then I'm going to find, I'm going to paste there, I'm going to find all instances of that strip of code, right? And what do I want to do? I want to replace them with nothing. I want to remove them. So in the replace, I'm just going to leave replace blank, and I'm going to hit this button that says replace all. And there you go. It's removed that inline fill and style from all of my icons. Now I hit save, and my file is correct now. So if I go back, this symbols-defs file is now formatted properly. So what I can do is I can go into Oxygen. I'm going to delete that little icon. We're going to copy and paste that one. And I'm going to just save this for a second. We're going to go back to our admin area. And I'm going to go over to Oxygen settings. So Oxygen settings. I'm going to go to SVG sets. And I'm going to name this business icons. I'm going to browse. I'm going to go to business icons, symbol-defs. That's the one that I edited. So it's all prepared and ready to go. And I'm going to hit open. And then I'm going to import the SVG set. I'm now going to go back over to my builder and refresh the builder. Because obviously the builder does not have the changes yet. It doesn't know the new icon set exists. Okay, there we go. So now what I'm going to do is go down to my icon, and instead of icon set font awesome, I can choose business icons. Now remove the thumbs up because that's irrelevant. And now what I can do is change it to any of my custom icons, and I can change the size. Maybe we want this to be 60. All right, perfect. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say that this is a business icon and it's going to be this one. And then I'm going to choose this and okay, font awesome, goes to business icons, and I'm going to choose this timer thingy, and then I'm going to change this to business icons, and we're going to use the graph. I'm going to change this to business icons, and I'm going to use the money. I'm going to change this one, and I'm going to use the light bulb. Okay, so now I'm going to save. So we can see I have all of my custom icons being used, and now I have full control over them. So the client comes and they're like, oh, well, we need all these icons to be the secondary color, our brand's secondary color, okay? So card icon, change primary to secondary, and now we have a brand new color, right? They've all changed color. I can control the size of all of them just like that. Now there are some issues with the icon width and height and things like that. If you inspect your Illustrator file, it really depends on how the icon set was designed in that case, right? You can see that the best designers will design pixel perfect icons, which are basically the same width and height. You can kind of get around this by putting them all in a box. This goes back to maybe preparing the icons as a designer. Now, if you're a developer and you need to do this on the fly, like I'm capable of doing it, but it is extra work and it's kind of outside the scope of this tutorial. But there is a way to ensure that all of these icons are exactly the same size. At least the same height is typically the way that you want to go. The width doesn't really matter, but the height does matter because if one of these is taller, it's going to push the text down, right? You could probably put a max height or min height or something like that on them. There's a lot of different ways to solve those challenges. But what I wanted to teach you in this tutorial is how you should be using and managing custom icons inside of Oxygen. By the way, the width and height issue, you're going to run into that with any of the systems that people use, whether you're using images or you're using code blocks or what have you. But this is the way you need to go about doing it. So kind of to recap here, what did we do? We have to convert or make sure that our icons are SVGs. We have to make sure, let me go back to let me go back to camera here. Whoops. Oh, I'm just clicking on mad stuff now. Okay. So you have to make sure that you have SVGs to start with. You also have to make sure that those SVGs are formatted properly, which means they're not using strokes, they're using fills. And I showed you how to convert from strokes to fills if you get SVGs that are not formatted properly. Next, you need to upload them to IcoMoon. You need to, click the little settings in IcoMoon to get your zip file download. Then you need to open symbols-defs. You need to edit that to remove any inline styling. So if there's fills or strokes or any of that stuff in those SVGs, that's going to render them not scalable when you try to import them into Oxygen. So by removing that inline code before you import into Oxygen, you have completely clean SVG icons that you can now control the color of, you can control the size of, and you can choose them. Like if you're going to develop a new page and you're like, man, I need that what was it, timer icon. Okay. So you find the timer icon, you just add an icon, you look in the panel over there in your icon set, find the timer, insert it, you're good to go. Better than the media library, way better than code blocks, right? This is the method that you should be using. If you have any questions, definitely let me know, drop a comment below. If you found value in this video, if you think this solved a big problem for you, definitely hit the thumbs up. Definitely make sure you are subscribed because there's so much more to come. Hit the notification bell as always when you subscribe so you make sure that I don't get drowned out by, that's my alarm to go to jujitsu. To make sure I don't get drowned out by all the other noise on YouTube, right? Hit that notification bell. I love you guys. Hopefully this really helps you. I'll be back very, very soon. Peace.